welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome back to the ASMR Art House. This is really our first official episode. If you don't count that intro video of me just being cringy. This is the first episode where we can slow down and talk about stuff that I'm interested and hopefully you're interested in as well. This one today is for not only movie fans, but also lovers of psychology and typology. Some might know this as MBTI or Myers-Briggs. I really enjoy the psychology of Carl Jung and his cognitive functions. I've read a little bit about Jung in my theory classes, as well as my philosophy and psychology classes. And in studying the cognitive functions in the four sides of the brain, and in looking at my personality type, my stack, I fall into the category of an INFP. An INFP, an INFP. It's fun to say. My type is dominated by the function known as introverted feeling. And then I have a parent function known as extroverted intuition, followed by a child function of introverted sensing, and then my inferior function is extroverted thinking. It's very fun when you really start to break down how this works, why my mind works this way, why I process things the way I do. But when I really started to study it, I realized that this is definitely me. It doesn't mean it puts me in a box. It doesn't mean that it completely knows me. It's not a stereotype. But it does help me to relate to other people who think similarly to me, who feel similarly. And it helps me to understand my place in the world and better understand my self-worth. And I think that's pretty cool. But what I want to get to today in this video is I want to talk about a few movies. That I've enjoyed over the years. Some movies that I've really connected with, despite being fictional representations of an idea upon a screen. These are movies that I continuously come back to, that I could probably quote all of the words to. Movies that I love and have grown up with. Movies that I cherish and could watch once a week, and probably sometimes do. First and foremost, I want to run through 5 movies that I've really enjoyed, but these are more so just honorable mentions. And then I want to talk about 5 movies that I think other INFPs would really enjoy. And you've probably seen some of these, so bear with me, but I hope you can appreciate the fact that these are beloved movies and really great movies. They may not be the ultimate cinematic movie with the perfect director, the perfect actors, the plot, or script, movies that I've just really been impacted by and continue to come back to and will continue to come back to. So let's get it started without further ado. First one I'm going to show you is one of the lesser knowns on this list. It's The Emperor's Club. Disc is rattling in there. With The Emperor's Club stars Kevin Kline and a young Emil Hirsch, a young Jesse Eisenberg. It's one of my favorite movies. It's kind of a knockoff. I wouldn't even say knockoff, but it's similar to Dead Poets Society, and it just really gets me excited to want to go back to school, want to study, learn about history, philosophy, and potentially one day continue on with being a teacher or even a professor. So it's a movie that inspires me, and if you're looking for a good movie about morals or education, I highly recommend The Emperor's Club. Next movie, and that was a little bit longer than these 5 will be. Next one is Love and Mercy. Love and Mercy. And this is kind of a biopic of, it's about the Beach Boys, but it's more so about Brian Wilson, who was pretty much the lead singer, the main creative force of the Beach Boys, one of the best bands of the 60s, and it really gets into the album Pet Sounds and a little bit afterwards as well. If you love the Beach Boys music, which I do, and Pet Sounds is one of my favorite albums, this is a really cool representation of what it was like for them to make that in the studio. And it also gets into Brian Wilson's mental health and how quickly things got difficult for him in that regard. It's a really captivating movie. It's very entertaining, but also it's thrilling and it's gripping. We have Paul Dano as a young Brian Wilson. We have John Cusack as an older Brian Wilson. And it switches back and forth between times. And yeah, it's a beautiful movie, and I definitely recommend it. Next one is certainly more well known than the last 2. This one is Dead Poets Society. Dead Poets Society. Starring the late, great Robin Williams. Rest in peace, Robin. Everybody loves Dead Poets Society. Either you've seen it, heard of it, possibly, never know. I guess there are some people that could be critics. I have read some reviews where people didn't like it. But most people I've talked to have really just fallen in love with this film. Oh, Captain, my Captain, seize the day. Gather ye rosebuds while ye may. I think it's just a great movie for literature lovers, for educators, for the dreamers, for the poets. And it's really sad. It's encapsulating. It really is. And certainly, I'm sure you've probably heard of this movie before, but if you haven't, go check it out as soon as possible, because Dead Poets Society is one of the best. One of the best, and this is really one that has one of the best performances by Robin Williams, one of my favorites I loved him in Good Will Hunting as well, and just about everything else he was in. But this is definitely, I think, is Mr. Keating. I think is my favorite performance of his, and always has inspired me to want to continue to be that out-of-the-box educator and do things in a non-conventional way, because, students aren't just numbers in a system. They're not all the exact same, and we have to make sure that we're connecting with each one so that we can empower them and help them learn and grow. So Dead Poet Society. This is going a lot longer than I thought it would, but I'm new, so bear with me. The next one is more so I wanted to shout out all 3 of his films, and the only one that I have on copy with me is Begin Again. 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 Starring the beautiful Keira Knightley. Oh my gosh, if she was not married. Oh, I love you, Keira. Also, Mark Ruffalo, who I think is excellent in this movie. It's one of his better performances, if you ask me. But this is a John Carney film. Maybe you've seen the movie once, or the movie, and this is personally my favorite of the 3, and the newest, which is called Sing Street. Sing Street. But John Carney is great. He makes beautiful music movies, and as someone who is a musician and who just loves music, these are movies that I can connect with and watch over and over again. Sing Street is the one that I think pulls me back the most. And it's funny because I'm not a big 80s music guy. I've started to get more into the 80s over time, but I've always been more of 60s, 70s, even earlier, like 40s and 50s stuff. But there's some 80s groups that I'm really starting to dig now. And Sing Street is one that it introduces you to so many different genres and subgenres of the 80s, and I think that's really cool. So, John Carney is awesome. As I said before, Keira Knightley is beautiful, and she does a great job in this movie. And so yeah, Begin Again. And finally, in the honorable mentions, which is crazy because we're 13 minutes in, but this is actually my favorite movie of all time, but I don't know if it really applies to INFPs that well, but I had to give it a shout out. It's another music movie. It's called That Thing You Do. That Thing You Do. That Thing You Do. I'm not gonna do tracing and stuff. Deal with me. But if you've seen That Thing You Do, you know that it's one of the snappiest, catchiest little movies to come out of the 90s. It was Tom Hanks' directorial debut, and it features a band called The Wonders coming up in Erie, Pennsylvania in the early 1960s during the British invasion, during the days of the Beatles, and they kind of emulate that Brit pop sound, definitely with the major to minor type of chords, and a really great beat, great bass lines, and they have a bunch of catchy hits, and their main song, That Thing You Do, climbs the charts as they tour around the country, and just a bunch of kids that are probably in college, and they're moving around playing their song and just having fun, and it's a cute little story, nice little romance as well. The main character, played by Tom Everett Scott, Guy Patterson, is one of my favorite characters of all time. I've probably watched this movie watched this movie 1,000 times, if that. I am its biggest fan. So, that thing you do, go check it out. And now, in the last 5 minutes, we're gonna break down these other 5 movies. But these ones are the ones that, as an INFP, I think resonate most with INFP values. The first one is 500 Days of Summer. We've all probably seen 500 Days of Summer, unlike That Thing You Do, or The Emperor's Club, or some of the Carney movies. 500 Days of Summer is a pretty popular movie, but it is really, it's one of those movies that you can continue to go back to because it expands upon so many different types of genres and subgenres. I love the 2 main characters, starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Zooey Deschanel. I don't know. I just think, despite how whiny Tom can be, the character played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Tom can be whiny and he doesn't listen very well. That's kind of how INFPs are. No offense to you other INFPs, but it's just, it resonates with me quite a bit, being a young man in his 20s, trying to find love, trying to find that perfect person that's going to fit all those needs, trying to find somebody who really connects with you and shares similar values. And even though it's not your typical romance movie, I think it's really just refreshing and different, and I love it. So go see 500 Days of Summer. Now, if you've seen this one, props to you, because this is not one that I think is as popular as 500 Days of Summer. I stumbled upon this one a long time ago on either Netflix or Amazon Prime, and I didn't know what it was going to be. I thought it might just be some average rom-com. I don't know why I even clicked on it, but immediately I was hooked because it's about a bunch of writers, and writers who like Stephen King, writers who like the Beatles, and I connected with its characters so quickly. The movie's called Stuck in Love, which honestly I think could have had a better title because it's kind of misleading in some ways. Originally I think it was going to be called Writers, but they had to change the title, so it's Stuck in Love. But this movie is just chock full of unique little placements. I love when you can get lost in a film and explore and find more and more. I think the director did an excellent job at doing so. He has little bits of music. He has one Bon Iver song that is just beautiful. He has stuff by Bright Eyes in there. So many references, like I said, to the Beatles, and I love the Beatles. References to Elliott Smith, and then references to a bunch of great writers, and Flannery O'Connor. And I said Stephen King is prominent in the movie as well. It's just a cool little movie. I like the way it's broken down, and we follow really 3 main protagonists and their relationships. They're all related. They're either, it's a dad and his kids, basically. And they're all writers. I love Jennifer Connelly, and she's in this. Greg Kinnear does a great job. And then you've got Nat Wolff, Logan Lerman, Lily Collins. Just a really great cast. A bunch of really good young actors. And it's just a getting lost in and thinking that, I know these people and I would love to hang out with these people and just chat about books and music and just hang out. Next on the list is Adventureland. Adventureland. I'm trying. I'm not an ASM artist yet. But Adventureland, I come back to this movie at least once every summer, and sometimes in other parts of the year too. It's odd because even the cover doesn't really resemble the movie all that much. They really tried to market it as kind of this like follow-up to Superbad, kind of just a raunchy comedy movie, and that's how they marketed it. And it's not that at all. While it's funny at times, certainly, it's really not that raunchy, and it's just this excellent little coming-of-age movie. I love Jesse Eisenberg in it. I love Kristen Stewart in it. Somehow, they've just got Ryan Reynolds just being this cool guy that plays guitar and fixes things, hanging out. It's another one of those movies that you can just pause and look around and find unique things every time, whether it's just little references to books or ideas or the songs. Once again, this is a movie that is placed in the 80s. I think it's like 1987, and there's so many great songs from that time, featuring a song by The Cure, which is always a great summer staple. But then you get predominantly Lou Reed and the Velvet Underground. You get some Linger On, Pale Blue Eyes, Satellite of Love. Some really good songs in there that I love. Wow, this movie may not be for everybody based on just, if you have a bad taste in your mouth based on that marketing, if you didn't love Superbad, or if you did love Superbad and you were expecting something like that, maybe give this another chance. Watching it as, more so a coming of age, that feature summer type of film where everything falls together, falls into place despite a bunch of hard, difficult circumstances. I just love this movie. I keep coming back to it. I'll watch it over and over again. It relates to my INFP, creativity, loneliness, longing for more, trying to find that perfect just person for you. So Adventureland. 2 more, we're almost done. Next one is For the Ones Who Dream. And as foolish as they may seem, that's La La Land. Everybody knows La La Land. I actually, being someone who's, even though I'm really into music and art and movies and all that stuff, when La La Land came out, I don't know, I had loved Whiplash. I loved Damien Chazelle and what he was able to do with Whiplash, and that could have easily been on this list as well. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. But I just thought it was going to be a little too, just a little too musically for me, if that's a word I can use. And so I was a bit skeptical, but it was blowing up. Everybody was giving it amazing reviews. And holy cow, when I watched this movie for the first time, I wish I could watch it for the first time again. because I've probably watched it 50 times. Beautiful. Probably the best made film on this list. Some of the shots, continuous shots, the color palette, the montage at the end, and the acting. I mean, Ryan Gosling, fantastic in this movie, more so even though as Emma Stone's character, fantastic. It's just that pure creativity, that longing for more, that dreaming of the big dream, chasing the goals, but the sadness that also follows sometimes when you chase your goals. It's a perfect movie in my book. It really is. It's top 3 of all time for me. Fight me. I love La La Land. I'm a dude and I love La La Land. That's saying something. And the final INFP movie is based on a book. A very, very, very sweet book written in an epistolary format by Stephen Chbosky. If you haven't guessed yet, it's Perks. The Perks of Being a Wallflower. It's just such a sweet movie. I can definitely, I'm not going to say I can relate to Charlie in every way, but Charlie is definitely an INFP. Charlie, his voice is so true and so pure and so sad at times. I think sometimes it's an INFP, but I'm sure everybody can relate in some ways. We all just want to be that kid who feels loved, feels like he has some people in his corner, is just so excited to meet those friends and to find those people. Once again, Logan Lerman, he was in Stuck in Love, he's in this one. Does a great job of playing Charlie. While that's not exactly how I saw Charlie when I read the book, he's about the closest thing, and I think he really takes on the persona, the aura of who Charlie is, and he does it so well. Even though Emma Watson, is doing an American accent in this movie, I love my British girls so much. As I said, I think Keira Knightley is beautiful. She was in Begin Again. I'm in love with Emma Watson, Hermione. I love me some British girls. And she's just fantastic in this movie. She's one of those just wonderful young actresses, an incredibly young woman, so empowering. I really respect who she is. And then, Ezra Miller in this movie is fantastic as well. It's a great movie for remembering and having that nostalgia of high school. I look up to the main teacher, whose name I'm forgetting at the moment. Just slipped in my mind all of a sudden. But Charlie's teacher, I want to be a guy like that who can really impact young individuals and help them know that someone is there for them, someone's interested in them and cares about them and believes in them. I think you can see a common theme. While there's obviously the INFP, the coming of age, looking for love, feeling isolated or lonely at a time in your life, as well as music, certainly, but also a theme of educators just being influences, being mentors. In our students' lives, and that's what I hope to do someday in the future. But those are 10 movies that really have impacted me in my teens and 20s. I didn't always know why I was drawn to them so much, and since really becoming big, really getting into MBTI, typology, Jungian theories, I've realized so much that I can type most of these main characters as INFPs, and their goals and their dreams, their areas of sadness, are very relatable to my own. And you know what I can take away from most of these movies is that we can have dreams, we can have goals, but we have to sometimes step out of our comfort zones, take the risk if we're going to have those cool stories, if we're going to have those opportunities. Because as much as I would love to sit in my basement and keep watching these movies, there's times where you gotta get out there and see the next thing, take the next chance, and continue to dream big along the way. But that is all from me. If you guys have liked these movies, watched these movies in the past, if you have any other movies that you think fit the vibe, fit the criteria for the list, please let me know in the comments down below. This is our house. This is not just a place for me to tell you about what I like, but this is a place where I hope you can bring your thoughts, your ideas into the picture, because that's what this is all about. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope I was able to relax you, calm you down a little bit, and give you some new ideas. Till next time.